I recently saw you mention this, that you had the legs of Lamar Jackson, the arm of Matthew Stafford, the IQ of Tom Brady. I was laughing really hard at that video.
It's the truth. Yeah, my dad actually wanted me to play quarterback because I was running back my whole life. It was a point where he was the head coach, and then he was like, if we don't have anybody who can throw, we have a tryout. If we don't see anybody that can throw, you got to play quarterback. And I did make an All-American team in the 7th grade. That's true.
Welcome in. It is the Tuesday, October 21 edition of the NFL Spotlight Show. I am your host, Ari Meirov. Week 7 of the NFL season has officially wrapped up. We are already on to week 8 of the NFL season. Crazy to say that. NFL trade deadline is coming up in about 2 weeks of here, so we're going to have a lot of action coming up around the NFL. But since it is a Tuesday, that means we have a special Spotlight guest of the week. And today, we will be joined by Los Angeles Rams safety Kam Curl, one of the more versatile players in the secondary around the NFL, one of the more underrated safeties in the NFL, coming off that dominant win on Sunday in London, beating the Jaguars 35-7. He had a team high 10 tackles. He has 2 interceptions on the year. A really, really vital part of that Rams dominant defense for Sean McVay, for defensive coordinator Chris Shula. And this is a player who has had a really, really good 6-year career so far in the NFL, but you don't really hear his name enough, which is exactly the point of NFL Spotlight. It was great to have him on the show, talk about his career path as a 7th-round pick, coming in during the COVID draft, making the roster, starting games right away, being an impact player, and now being in Los Angeles for his second season as a starter. And it was a really, really good conversation, getting to know one of the more underrated safeties in the NFL. So here it is, my full 25-plus minute discussion with Ram safety Kam Curl, immediately off the plane from London, back in LA. Here it is. Joining me today here on NFL Spotlight, he is currently in his 6th NFL season, his 2nd with the LA Rams. He's coming off a game in London in which he had a team-high 10 tackles, a pass deflection, in a dominant 35-7 win. It is Kam Curl. Kam, what's going on, man? How are you?
I'm doing good, man. How you doing?
I am doing great. And, we're recording this here on Monday morning, and this is the NFL Spotlight Show. We love going through people's careers, their journeys, their path, put a spotlight on their, amazing work they do. And before I get into all of that, I just got to ask you about these last couple of weeks for you of being in Baltimore and staying in Baltimore and going to London on Saturday and playing on Sunday and getting back overnight. Like, what has been your schedule these last couple of weeks and the last couple of days here in your life?
It's been a crazy schedule. So we went and played the Ravens, and we ended up staying in Baltimore for the whole week, trying to get acclimated to. It was really trying to acclimate to that time, so that when we go to London, it'll be like coming from the West Coast to the East Coast to play. That's how McVay tried to set it up, and obviously it worked, but it was a little stressful at the beginning. Just the time change and how early the meetings were in the morning, just trying to get us acclimated and stuff. And then finally going out and flying out to London and being there for probably barely even 24 hours, probably not even 24 hours. You know what I'm saying? And it was a crazy, crazy couple of weeks, but we managed to pull through as a team and get the dub.
Correct me if I'm wrong, that was your first time ever playing in London, right? Or any overseas game, right?
Yeah, that was my first time ever being in London.
Yeah, you guys are the first NFL team ever in history to go there on a Saturday, play the game on Sunday, and get the heck out of there. And you guys won 35-7. Pretty impressive. Congrats on the win, and now here on a bye. But let's go through your entire career, because I really believe you're one of the most underrated DBs in the NFL. And I'll start from a very young age. In high school, as a senior, you played both sides of the ball. You had 89 tackles and 3 interceptions. 2 of them returned for touchdowns. On the offensive side, you had 46 catches, over 500 yards, 6 touchdowns on offense. Just what was your goal early on in life? Did you want to play offense, defense? You're also a track guy. Like, what was your goal early on in your life?
Honestly, the goal was really just to be the best as I can at the game of football. I fell in love with the game at a real young age. I started playing at 6. I wanted to play when I was younger, but they only had flag football for like 4 and 5-year-olds. So I didn't want to do that. I wanted to get straight into tackle. So I had to wait till I was 6 years old. And my first position was running back. So like I started off as like offensive player, really. And that didn't really change until I want to say like my junior year in high school when I started getting offers, D1 offers. Like I was getting little schools at receiver, but all the big offers were coming as DB. So then I was like, I'm just gonna lean into the defensive side. You know what I'm saying? And I really liked our defense coaches at my high school that we had. So that was easy for me to transition to be more of a defensive player. But yeah, those offers coming in, I'm like, I might as well just focus on the defensive side, man.
Well, you mentioned focusing on defense. You mentioned running back. Was there ever any interest at quarterback? Because I recently saw you mention this, that you had the legs of Lamar Jackson, the arm of Matthew Stafford, the IQ of Tom Brady. I was laughing really hard at that video, but was that
True.
was that actually ever in consideration of being a quarterback in your career?
Yeah, my dad actually wanted me to play quarterback. So I started playing quarterback in 6th grade because I was a running back my whole life. And then it was a point where he was the head coach, and then he was like, if we don't have anybody who can throw, we having tryouts. So he was like, if we don't see anybody that can throw, you got to play quarterback. But now that I think of it, like I think he had in the back of his mind already that he wanted me to play quarterback. He was just trying to set me up. But yeah, I started playing quarterback 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, and I did make an All-American team in the 7th grade. That's true. I went to the All-American game as a quarterback. You know what I'm saying? I feel like I was probably one of the best in the nation at it, but I don't know. I stopped playing quarterback when I got to high school because I don't know. I just like the idea of somebody else giving me the ball and me going to make plays instead of me just giving everybody else the ball. You know what I'm saying? But I was a pretty good quarterback.
Sean McVay ever wants to run a trick play, I'm all for it, with having you on the offensive side of the ball here. But let's go back over here to just the decision with college. Like, you spent most of your young career over on growing up in Oklahoma, but you decided to go to Arkansas for college. You had offers from Baylor, Nebraska, Oklahoma, TCU. Was that a hard decision not to go, to the home state of Oklahoma and end up in Arkansas?
Yeah, it was kind of hard. Gee, that's where everybody wanted me to go, to Oklahoma. Just being, the in-state kid. But I always took a liking to the SEC. I feel like, growing up watching SEC football, I always thought that was the best conference in college football. You know what I'm saying? So when I got the Arkansas offer, it really jumped to my number one, and the Oklahoma offer came a little late. I ain't gonna lie, and I had a little chip on my shoulder about that. I felt a little way about that. But, it all boiled down to just wanting to play in the SEC and wanting to play against the best every week.
Fall always feels like a reset. Between back to school, busier routines, and shorter days, finding time to cook can be tough. That's why I love Factor. Their chef-prepared, dietitian-approved meals make it easy to stay on track and enjoy something comforting and delicious no matter how hectic the season gets.
And Ben, Factor is all about variety and giving you tons of options to help you meet your wellness goals, including GLP-1 friendly meals and new Mediterranean diet options packed with protein and good for you fats. And now, for the first time, you can try Asian-inspired meals with bold flavors influenced by China, Thailand, and more. For more choices to better nutrition, that is why 97% of customers say that Factor helped them live a healthier life. Feel the difference no matter your routine.
I've loved getting my Factor meals. And, there aren't many deliveries that a 31-year-old man gets excited for nowadays. Amazon, all that stuff. No. Factor meals coming in, very exciting. And this isn't the stuff that you get from the freezer section at the grocery store. It actually is something you can taste the quality of when you get your meats, veggies, and grains, so on and so forth. So I really honestly highly recommend taking up the offer that we have for you today.
Eat smart at factormeals.com/Ari50off, ARI50OFF, and use code, again, Ari50off to get 50% off your first box plus free breakfast for 1 year. Again, that is code Ari50off at factormeals.com. for 50% off your first box, and you'll get free breakfast for 1 year. Get delicious, ready-to-eat meals delivered with Factor. This offer is only valid for new Factor customers with the code and qualifying auto-renewing subscription purchases. Now, I'll get to the chip on the shoulder here in a second, because I think you've had a couple of those here in your career. But during your time there at Arkansas, you do your 3 years, you declare for the NFL draft in 2020, which, of course, before that, you didn't know what's about to happen, which is the pandemic and COVID, which kind of ruined everything for players like you who are projected to go somewhere in that 4, 5, 6, 7 range. Just what was that entire process like for you? And when that happened, were there any doubts about that decision to leave college?
No, it was a crazy situation when that happened, but I had declared and everything before, COVID had popped off. I remember, it was after the combine, and I was supposed to go on a in-person visit to the Ravens, actually, the Baltimore Ravens, supposed to go to Baltimore. And I was in line to board the plane, and then, I had got a call saying, the NFL shutting down all in-person visits. So then that's, when it really first hit me, dang, okay, this is really, affecting, everything that we got going. So that was really one thing that affected it. And then, the draft, everything being on Zoom, just a whole bunch of stuff. And then, when I did get drafted, we couldn't get into the building until July, till training camp. Usually do OTAs and stuff, but we couldn't get in the building until July, which was really crazy because all major gyms and stuff was shut down. So I was back in Fayetteville, Arkansas, working out in the front yard, you know what I'm saying, and working out at the gym in the apartments, just trying to do everything I could to stay in shape and get ready to play in the NFL, which I really don't, I ain't never played, so I really don't know really what to do, but I was just, doing everything I can, going as hard as I can to do it. But it was a real crazy situation.
Going in the 7th round, being the 20th safety taken, which is crazy to say right now. What were your expectations for the draft? Where did you think you would go? Were you getting pissed off that it was going all the way to the 7th round? What was that entire experience like?
Yeah, I had no idea where I was going to go in the draft. I was talking to some teams, but, I never really had a solid idea where I was going to go. But, yeah, just seeing a whole bunch of safeties go off the board before me, it did make me feel some type of way. You know what I'm saying? Because, I feel like, I'm the SEC safety. I'm playing against Bama, LSU, and them every week, and, I'm seeing Pac-12 safeties go ahead of me. No disrespect to the Pac-12, but it was just, it made me feel some type of way. So, just towards the end of the draft, and I was getting texts from coaches about free agency and stuff. So it's dang, that started taking a toll on me. But then, I got that call. It was a Virginia area code. I didn't know who. I really didn't know who it was from, honestly. I answered the phone. It was Coach Rivera, and I really don't know. After he said, hello, this is Coach Rivera, I don't know what happened after that. I blacked out, crying and stuff. But that was one of the best times of my life for sure.
Getting drafted by a team called Washington Football Team. Did you have any reaction to that? That was their first year with that name. Was that interesting to you? What'd you think of being drafted to Washington Football Team?
Actually, when I got drafted, it was still the Redskins.
Oh, you're right. They changed it out.
Yeah, a couple months later is when the name change came. So that was wild too. Changes the name and the uniforms and everything. It's like I'm just getting here and all this stuff is happening. But that was pretty crazy.
Now, what was that rookie year like? Because, you mentioned how you could barely get into the building until training camp. A lot of guys who were in your position getting drafted in the 7th round and undrafted guys, they were getting cut no matter what. You actually made the roster. What was that entire, training camp experience like with no preseason and eventually, making a spot on the roster as a defensive back?
Honestly, that whole, just because I was the only rookie DB they drafted, brought in, they didn't get any undrafted free agent rookies or anything. So I was the only rookie in the DB room the whole time. So honestly, I'm thinking, I got to do whatever I can to try to make this team. You know what I'm saying? And I was, picked up in the 7th round. So, they probably thinking like, if you do make the team, you're going to be a special team player, but the odds really stacked against you, honestly, because you competing against vets. You're not competing against any other rookies on the team. You competing against guys who already got experience in the NFL. But it was just, just taking everything to the next level, like film study, you know what I'm saying? Just taking care of my body, being more focused in meetings and everything, just knowing that I gotta take the extra step to try to make this team. And, it came to a point to where I started making plays in training camp because we didn't have any preseason games. So we would do like little scrimmages within the team, and I appreciate all the vets that I had in the DB room. Like they really brought me in, you know what I'm saying, and helped me out with everything, that I asked and even stuff I didn't ask, you know what I'm saying. I had some real good vets like Landon Collins, DeShazer Everett, Jeremy Reeves, I had Troy Apke, Kendall Fuller. I had a whole bunch of good vets in there that really took me in, really like little bro, because I was the only rookie, like, you know what I'm saying? But, I started making plays, and then they had put a package in for me during camp. They put the Buffalo package in for me, the big nickel package. And when they did that, it's like, okay, I think they like me. You know what I'm saying? And I was starting on the package. So I'm like, I can't let nobody take this from me. You know what I'm saying? And when that happened, I just took it and ran with it, honestly.
I mean, you really proved yourself as a player in the NFL. Like you mentioned, they had guys on the team who were getting paid, veterans, have played, been there, done that, and then they were making a specific package for you to play. Let me go through these numbers. You started 11 games as a 7th-round rookie in a year where there was no preseason. You had 3 interceptions. You had 88 tackles. And just overall, the feeling as a rookie that year with no fans in the stadium, making the playoff push, making the playoffs, your first playoff game against Tom Brady. Just what was that entire experience like? Did it feel a little bit like a dream that this is all happening as a 7th-round rookie for you?
Nah, it did feel like a dream. Like it felt like I was just like in the zone. You know what I'm saying? I ain't wanna get out the zone, but like it was crazy. Like that first game against the Eagles, week 1, and you go out there and there's like no fans. And like you can literally hear everything going on the field. Like you hear all the calls, you hear the sideline. It just felt like a scrimmage, honestly. It just felt like we were just scrimmaging the Eagles. But I got out there, I made a couple plays, and they kept putting me out there on defense. I was on special teams a lot too. And then I had got a chance to start. My dog Lando had got hurt. They put me in there, they trusted me to go in there. And I showed them what I could do. And then, like you said, making the playoffs that year, winning the division and making the playoffs, like that was pretty crazy, especially going up against Tom Brady in the playoffs, like as a rookie. Like that was pretty wild for sure.
And that was a real game, probably the most competitive game the Buccaneers that year had in the playoffs on their way to their Super Bowl championship. And during your 4 years in Washington, you started 53 of 60 games. And the one thing that I really respect and really admire about you, and you keep on doing it now with the Rams, is that you're such a willing tackler. Like you're somebody who is a sure tackler. You don't miss many. We were talking about like 80 to 100 plus tackles every single season, no matter what. Among safeties right now in the NFL, you're number 1 in the NFL in tackles. Like, where does that come from that you're so nosy and making sure to get the tackle? You really don't really miss much.
I feel like you said, it's the will, the will to want to do it, and I kind of take it personal, like, cause like if somebody break my tackle, like it made me feel kind of soft, So like I don't want to feel like that, Like I feel like if I get a guy, I want to get him down right then and there. You know what I'm saying? Like impose my will, So that it's like a will and a pride thing to to want to do it, because some guys don't want to, and like you can tell on film.
Hey guys, it's Ari here, and I'm excited to tell you that NFL Spotlight is sponsored by FanDuel Sportsbook this NFL season. And here on NFL Spotlight, we are here to help you get an edge on your bets. If you're a new customer, you can sign up right now. Bet $5. If that bet hits, you're going to get $300 in bonus bets if that bet hits. Go to FanDuel.com/33rd to get this offer.
Yeah, that's right, Ari. You can just bet those $5. It hits. You get the $300 in bonus bets, which is great because you can use it to build parlays, bet player props, ride the live lines, whatever your style is. FanDuel's got you covered. And this has been a little bit of a fun, chaotic season so far. So there's really no better time to jump in and get in on the fun craziness that is the NFL season with our friends over at FanDuel.
Head over to FanDuel.com/33rd, sign up, get $300 in bonus bets if that $5 wager hits. And we're going to pick Thursday Night Football right now, week 8. We're 4-3 on the season. I have to admit, we started 4-0. We're on a 3-game losing streak. We're going to have to end it right now, Ben.
Yeah, and we've got a fun game coming up on Thursday Night Football. Chargers 2.5-point favorites at home against the Vikings. Both teams, like us right now, hungry for a win, with LA having dropped 3 of their last 4 and the Vikings losing 2 of their last 3. How do you see this one shaking out?
Yeah, I mean, it should be a very, very interesting matchup. As of this recording, we're still not 100% sure if it's Carson Wentz or JJ McCarthy. I believe it's likely going to be Carson Wentz once again, but I'm going to go with the Chargers covering this 2.5-point spread over here. They need a win in the worst way. They've been losing in some of the these fashions where it does not look like Jim Harbaugh football. They're being out physical in every single game, which is not what Jim Harbaugh wants. The offensive line has been an issue. This will not be an easy task going up against this Brian Flores and Vikings defense, but I'm going to have this game where I'm just going to go based on the quarterbacks. Do I want Justin Herbert or do I want Carson Wentz? I want Justin Herbert every single day of the week in that case, and I'm going to have the Chargers taking the spread, winning this game, and getting back in their winning ways. And honestly, I love Kevin O'Connell. I think he's one of the best head coaches when it comes to quarterbacks. Sometimes I feel like Carson Wentz is not even listening to him and just doing his own stuff. And anytime that happens, it's going in the worst way possible. And we saw it multiple times on Sunday versus the Eagles. I feel like we might have a couple of those here on Thursday night. That, of course, only benefits the Chargers.
I feel like this is going to be a big game here for the Chargers, Ari. I think they're, like you were saying, this has got to be a get-right game. They're a good team. It seems like that's the only thing is going to be closing these ones out. So make sure you head over to FanDuel, get your picks in for this game. Make sure you're following along with us here. 5-3 is on the way, Ari. I feel it. And we're going to be doing it with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book.
Well, we're going to talk about over here the fact that you stayed starting in Washington those next 3 years, 14 games, 12 games, 16 games in the final year there, and then you become a free agent. And we mentioned the chip on the shoulder before. Becoming a free agent at just 24 years old and as a rising stud, I felt like teams did not push as aggressively as they should to go out and get a player like you. What was that free agency like for you? How did you end up with the Rams on a 2-year deal? And I'm sure a lot of teams right now in the NFL kind of regret not pushing harder.
Yeah, that free agency period, Dan, that was pretty crazy. So there's a lot of ups and downs, but I ended up with the Rams. I feel like that was the best fit for me, honestly, with the coaches we have here and the team we have. But, I just felt like McVay was the only coach to call me, honestly, like personally, and we talked, you know what I'm saying? So that really showed me like the interest he really had in me and the conversation we had. We had a real good conversation on what the plans were for me and what he sees in me. So that really is what, made my decision for me, honestly. And then, when I got in the building, like it just confirmed it, like everything I was believing, like the type of coach he is and the coaches he has around him and the overall culture that they have at the Rams. It's a winning culture. And like you can tell when you get in the building, everybody's held accountable. You still having fun, but everybody knows like when it's time to work, it's time to work.
Now, it's pretty cool what you mentioned there with Sean McVay, because when he wants a player, he really goes out there and tries to get that player, and that would go for you as well. And actually, I want to play this video that he spoke about you a couple of weeks ago, just how important you are to the team and the organization. Let me play this right now here.
He's been a stud, Nick. I mean, the guy, he's a grown man, made play after play, and then obviously making the pick to be able to, get the offense the ball back and ultimately close the game out. What a stud. So glad to have him. I love Kam Curl.
Just overall, like what makes Sean McVay so special, and how important has he been for your career so far, over a year plus with him in LA?
Honestly, like I really think he's like a football genius. Like even like before I even got on the team, like just seeing his interviews and like how he can recall stuff off the top of his head that happened years ago, and like the way he talks about football and the energy he brings, Like even in team meetings and stuff like that, he's always the same guy every day with that energy, and like you can feed off of it. Even like in practice, like if we in practice, we going against scout team. Oh, he running to the ball with us. Like it's like infectious. Like you can't help but feed off the type of guy he is. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't help but want to play for a guy like that.
I'm not really asking you to compare the two organizations, but you went from Washington, which at the time it felt like there's a lot of negative energy throughout everything going on over there, to this LA building, which feels very positive with everything going on from the coaches and the staff and the players. Did you feel that right away upon making that switch?
Yeah. Like, I love Coach Rivera. I love all the coaches I had there at Washington, even just for them believing in me, you know what I'm saying, and giving me a chance as that 7th-round rookie, you know what I'm saying? But, everybody knows the type of stuff we was going through there, you know what I'm saying? All the negativity and the news and the headlines and, the losing games and stuff, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, like when I stepped into the building of the Rams, like it was almost like night and day, you know what I'm saying? Because they just won the Super Bowl 2021. You know what I'm saying? It's like I said, it's a winning culture. And like when you come in, you can't help, like either you gonna be with it or you not. You know what I'm saying? And like if you're not, you gonna get weeded out really fast. You know what I'm saying? So it's just about buying in, and just the culture. I keep saying, the culture at the Rams is great.
And I look at the team and just the defense in particular. I mean, there are so many dogs on this team, from Verse and Byron Young and Fisk and Kobe Turner, and then you guys in the back end with yourself and Quentin Lake. But it feels like the names don't get talked about enough on a national level. Do you guys feel that? And is it like a bit of a disrespect? Because I don't know why. You guys are all top players at your position, top 10, top 12, whatever it is. But it feels like whenever it comes to the national shows and whatever, it never gets talked about. Do you guys feel that by any chance?
I don't think we really feel it. We don't really pay no attention to it. Like I just know we got a bunch of young, hungry dogs on this defense. You know what I'm saying? Who's itching to prove themselves in this league. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like that's what's showing on Sundays. Guys flying around to the ball and making plays. Trying to make a name for themselves. You know what I'm saying? And like we don't really, like I said, we don't really pay attention to all the national media and who they're talking about. We just trying to win games.
Comes to just your defensive coordinator, you've been with Chris Shula now the last 2 years. When he got the job is when you came in. How important has he been for your career so far? The way he uses you, the way he utilizes you. I mean, you could be used in a multitude of different ways. You're really, really versatile, which is another really important part of being a player like yourself in the NFL now in 2025. Just how important has Chris Shula been for your career?
He's been real important. You know what I'm saying? Chris Shula, he does a good job of putting us in position to make plays. You know what I'm saying? He does a good job of mixing stuff up. We run a bunch of different coverages, a bunch of different looks, and it helps because we got a bunch of smart guys on his defense, and he puts his trust in us to go and do stuff on the field that I feel like certain teams can't do, honestly. You know what I'm saying? Like, even like when I first got in here, like the defense we run, like it's very complex. You know what I'm saying? It's very different than what I was running, in Washington. So just him putting that trust in us to know the defense and learn the defense and being able to execute it on Sundays, like I got 100% faith in Shula.
Look at the team right now. You guys are 5-2, beat up the Jaguars in London. You're on a bye now. I want to slide back a couple of weeks ago when you guys played the Colts. The Colts only have one loss on the year that came to you guys. Daniel Jones only has 3 interceptions on the year. 2 of them came to you. Just that game in particular, just what was clicking that day where a lot of defenses around the NFL have struggled against this offense. And then you guys were able to beat them, intercept the quarterback, and just do that. Like, what would you guys feel in that game?
I feel like we had a little chip on our shoulder that game, coming off the loss to the Eagles, and knowing, the Colts, they were riding high, you know what I'm saying, coming in that week, and that's what we talked about all week. They don't come in and, they got good offense. Jonathan Taylor running the ball, Daniel Jones, like he looks like a brand new quarterback now, you know what I'm saying? They got some good guys catching the ball. But like you said, we knew it was going to be a heavyweight fight, and, we had to come with our best stuff. And, when the plays presented themselves, we made them.
They definitely did. And that was, again, the only loss they have in the year. They actually have the best record in football right now. at 6-1 with the only blemish coming against this Rams team. Last thing here about the Rams before I wrap this up. You guys, have an unbelievable offense with Matthew and Puka and Davante Adams, the tight ends, just practicing against those guys day in and day out, training camp and everything. And then every single week, just how much better does it make the defense when you guys are going up against all pro, superstar, future Hall of Fame players day in and day out?
Man, it makes a huge difference. Like going against those guys. Like I remember last year when I came in and just watching Stafford throw the ball around in practice, and I'm just like I'm in awe. You know what I'm saying? I was telling the guys that's been there with him the whole time, like y'all are spoiled. Like you don't see this on the everyday. You know what I'm saying? But like every day in practice we have the Mamba periods where we go ones versus ones every day. To start off the practice, which is gonna set the tone. For the rest of the day and. I feel like that helps the defense a whole lot. Just going against Hall of Fame players like him and Tay, you know what I'm saying, and the other guys, Puka, the other guys that got on offense, that makes a huge difference. Just going against that type of talent every day, like you don't get that on every team.
We mentioned before how your first ever playoff game was against Tom Brady. Like we said, you literally get to see Matthew Stafford every day. When it comes to throwing the football and how smooth it is he, I don't know, one of the greatest ever that maybe just doesn't get talked about?
I think he's the best thrower of the football ever I done seen. Honestly, like the way the different arm angles he can do it, like the way the ball, like going against him in practice, you have to be perfect because he's gonna be perfect on every throw. You know what I'm saying? So that just makes us a whole lot better. You know what I'm saying? And the no looks that everybody sees. It's amazing to watch. I ain't gonna lie.
Special, one of the greatest of all time. And as you said, the Rams are spoiled to have a quarterback like that who is just so good at what he does, and the more he does it, the better he gets. And it's a joy to watch him every single week.
Yes, sir.
Cam, before I wrap this up, I gotta ask you the question I ask every guest who comes on the show. This is the NFL Spotlight Show. We love spotlighting people in the NFL who deserve more recognition, talk about their career paths, their journeys, how they got to where they are today. You could pick anybody, a player, a coach, executive. Who is somebody that we should maybe target to get on the show in the future?
Man, I say my dog Q Lake, man. Q Lake, I feel like he's one of the best underrated DBs in the league. He's playing nickel, he's playing safety, he's playing all around. He's making a lot of plays. You know what I'm saying? Like he's starting off this season amazing. You know what I'm saying? He's making a lot of plays, and I'm just happy to see him make those plays. Because we see him in practice. He's working. He does everything right. You know what I'm saying? And just to see that transition into the field on Sundays, like I'm real happy for him.
You and Q Lake are probably one of the most underrated duos that we have in the NFL today. It's a perfect pick. Honestly, I was hoping you would say his name because he is somebody we would love to get on the show as well. You guys are both studs. You guys will both get paid here very soon in the NFL as well. And I really, really appreciate you mentioning him here because we're going to try to get him here as well. But Cam, I want to thank you for coming on the show, talking about your career path, your journey, everything you've done so far in the NFL. Continued success to you on a personal level, to the team, the Rams. You guys are 5-2 on the bye right now, and all the best here the rest of the year.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Hey guys, Ari here to tell you that we are so excited to be working with our friends over at Root Insurance. Root Insurance believes that good drivers deserve better rates. So they have created a new kind of car insurance that rewards good drivers in an easy-to-use app. It's very simple. While you're driving, they analyze your data from your smartphone sensors. After just a few weeks, you'll get a car insurance quote based primarily on your driving.
Yeah, and Ari, you can test it out before you switch, which really helps you get the right idea about, how much you're going to be paying for your insurance, which I think a lot of us really tend to overpay on car insurance. Obviously, incredibly important to have, but sometimes we don't really understand what we're paying for, and the Root app really helps solve that. And what's great, though, about the Root app is it's more than just the sensor part. You can easily go on there and edit your coverage, update your policy, or file a claim in just a couple minutes.
Get started today by visiting root.com, ROOT.com, and learn how you could save for good driving. Special thanks to Rams safety Kam Curl for being our spotlight guest of the week. Love that conversation with him. And as I've said before here on the show, I like having these type of, 7th round picks, undrafted guys coming on the show, proving they belong in the NFL, scratching and clawing, making the team, getting to a starting position, and Kam Curl has done that in the NFL, played 4 years in Washington, now in his second year of the Rams, and I truly believe that, he's going to continue playing the way he has all year long, and I think he's going to have a nice payday on the way as well here very soon, because he definitely deserves that here in the NFL for what he does for that Rams defense. Sean McVay loves him, as you heard in the interview. And of course, Chris Shula, defensive coordinator, loves him as well. And like I said, he said we should get Quentin Lake, his buddy on the back end of the show. We're definitely going to try to do that. And I truly do believe it's one of the more underrated safety duos that we have in the NFL, with Lake and Curl on the back end of that Rams defense. So special thanks to Kam Curl for coming on the show. The Rams are 5-2. They're on their bye right now. And of course, they're one of the more dominant teams in the NFC and really the NFL as a whole. As always, if you have someone from around the NFL who you think we should get on the show, could be anybody, a coach, a player, an executive, anybody in between, whatever it is, let us know in the comments. Let me know in my DMs. We'll go out there. If it makes sense, try to get that person on the show. We have a lot of really exciting spotlight guests over here in the works. We have a couple people who are basically finalized to get on the show here, people we've been working to get on for a number of weeks, in some cases even months. That's really, really exciting. So a lot of really fun things ahead of here on NFL Spotlight, but we will be back here later in the week talking more things around the NFL, what's going on. We, of course, already had a coach firing last week. We have the trade deadline coming up. A lot of action happening around the NFL. This might just be the year where there's just so much parity, so much unknown. Who's the best team in football right now? Honestly, it's truly up in the air. It's what makes this sport so great. We'll see all of you here later this week.